a mum, and we talking to her as a mum this afternoon. Khadija, now, can you share some specific ways your mum encouraged learning at home that had a lasting impact on you?
For me, I think, you know what, if I start listing ways, I think we'll be here till Fajr time, because mom was always about learning, but learning in a fun way. And for me, I love to work with my hands, clay, painting, drawing, everything of that sort. So what mom would do is that, you know what, she would break up this big batch of Play-Doh for us. And, you know, she'd give us all these different things. She lets us make whatever we want. But, you know, I'd always go to her, mom, what can I make today? And she'd tell me, oh, make this, make that. And you know what, it was a lot of fun for me. I think that's also, I figured out that, you know what, I'm good with my hands. And another way that she would do is that in our living room one day in our holidays is that she would clear out the entire lounge. Like, she'd move the couches, the coffee table, everything like that. She just put paper throughout that, and she tell us, paint whatever you want, paint, whether you want to paint the landscape, whether you want to paint the view, whatever you want to paint like that. And I think that also, you know what, also taught me quite a lot of things. It wasn't just about painting that day. I picked up about different colors, different shapes, brush strokes, everything like that. Also, we do a lot of hiking. My parents, my sister and I, we do a lot of hiking, like mom
Mhm.
mentioned. And whenever we go on hiking, I've got this habit that I can not keep quiet. I will talk throughout the hike from the beginning to the end. And what I used to do, well, we haven't been hiking in a while, but what I used to do is that I used to start a story from the beginning. Like, I used to make a story in my head from the beginning of the hike till the end. And by the end of it, I'd go home and I'd pin the whole thing down. But mom never told me, okay, you know what, we need to tone down, we're on a hike, everything like that. No, it's
So,
like,
you used to think of the story, or you used to tell them a story?
I used to think and tell both.
Yes, it
That's
actually.
why your mom said that you need a high level of tolerance.
Yes,
Okay.
that's why.
Is that the challenges you were talking about earlier?
Gee.
Okay.
She loves to
okay.
talk. You
Okay.
have to also be the gardener sometimes.
Okay.
She-
Go on. Sorry.
And you know what? She never told me that, you know what, none of your interests. Whenever I had a different interest, I'd come home and I'm telling her, Mom, today I think this week I'm interested in so and so thing. She never told me, okay, you know what, we don't do that. What will people say? She never ever actually said that to me. And I think that the constant engagement and support for that especially fostered a deep-seated love for learning in me, because it wasn't like, oh, what will people say? What, my parents won't like it if I'm doing this. My mom was always like, you like it, go ahead. You don't want to wake up one day when you're like 60 years old and say, you know what, I wish I did that when I was 20 years old. I wish my parents let me. You can say that, you know what, my parents let me be on the radio. My parents let me do whatever I want to, as long as it was within Islamic limits, as long as it was
Absolutely.
within, like, you know, respectable limits, as long
Mhm.
as it was with that, no matter what.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I think that's absolutely important. And Khadija, sorry, I spoke to you. Fatima,
Gee.
I noticed that the one thing that you seem to have practiced was that you had open communication with your children.
Yes, definitely.
You encouraged them,
Mhm.
and you also sort of guided them in the sense that without any restrictions per se.
Yes.
Now, many of us, we have like a closed shop policy.
Yes, definitely.
You can just do this much and that much. I don't want to communicate to you. I don't want to take interest in your homework. That's your problem. You do what you have to. And I noticed that you seem to have taken a very active role, played a very active role. And of course, what I'm most excited about is the communication that you had. Let's discuss that with us.
Okay, the thing was, you see, I also myself grew up in a generation where you were told what to do,
Mhm.
and that was it. You
Mhm.
did what you did because your parents said so. And you didn't actually question all of that. You were,
Mhm.
for one thing, I don't think it even occurred to us to question it.
You can't.
And you did not, and it
Mhm.
was considered disrespectful to a
Mhm.
large extent. And to another extent, I think it was also something that you wouldn't trespass, you wouldn't go past that limit.
Mhm.
But then when I had my own kids, I realized that the generation was changing. People needed to know why. Kids needed to understand why they were doing certain things, what was happening, what was there. And if you explain to them what was right, what was wrong, the reason why they were supposed to be doing things, or the reason that you didn't want them to be doing something, sometimes they became it was something where you found a lot more cooperation.
Absolutely.
And it didn't matter if your child was 5 or if your child was 7. If you explained to them, sometimes it made them feel a little bit important as well, because you allowed them to make little decisions for themselves. Now, the reason that I took that approach, because I hope that as they were allowed to make little decisions. So as they grow older, they're allowed to make bigger decisions and better decisions. And what happens here is, when I would do this when they were younger, it would make them understand the pros and make them understand the cons. So as you get older, now you start doing it by yourself as well.
No, but that communication is absolutely vital, because what happens that by communicating, you are now developing trust between each other.
Definitely.
And it's important, because then if there's something worrying the child will come to the mom and say to the mom, this is worrying me, because she knows she's got an open line of communication.
But that was what I was aiming for from the start, because if you allow children to come home on a day-to-day basis, even give them 5 minutes of your undivided attention, and you speak to them, and it may be a very small thing to you, but it's a very important problem to that little child.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that if they got somebody to talk to,
Yes.
then they can find a solution. Because if you're not going to open those channels of communication, they're going to go and speak to somebody.
Exactly.
And that somebody may not give them the correct advice.
So when you start with small problems with small people, when they're older, it becomes bigger problems, but they can still come to you with those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I love that approach. In fact, I adopted that approach with my children as well.
No, alhamdulillah.
I had an open line of communication, and I found that it worked wonders. Alhamdulillah.
But sometimes it stung a bit.
No, it will. It will.
Because they would come to you and tell you that they believe that you were wrong.
Yeah.
And making a certain decision, and now you have to take a step back. You have to sometimes accept that maybe that was also a little bit.
But that helps, because then the child knows that the child can communicate with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you accept that, you erred. If you all erred, we all make mistakes.
Definitely.
So if you accept that, then it's fine. I mean, we make a mistake. I'm sorry. The child will know that even he or she is allowed to make mistakes.
Definitely, because if your parents make the mistakes, you're also going to make mistakes.
Definitely. Let's talk about a student's perspective. Now you seem to have a passion for teaching. I mean, talking to you, that's what I seem to be gleaning. Now, as a student teacher, Khadija, what inspired you to pursue a career in education?
For me, alhamdulillah, I have a lot of interests, and I think everyone's picked that up tonight. So I never really knew what I wanted to become in life. It was always, okay, one day I wanted to become a vet. The next day, and I think also because...
Do you like animals?
I love animals.
Okay.
And I think it's also for the fact that I have an African grey who's been with me since I was a year old. He's my love, he's my life, he's my baby.
Okay.
He was my first birthday gift, and he and I have been together since then.
Okay.
He and I, we sit together every night. Whatever I eat, he eats. Which I know the vet has told me not to, but he's very cute. I can't say no to him. That's the thing. He sits.
But I love your choice of words. He's been with me since then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all. I mean, you're not going to say he's been with me for the last umpteen years. It's just, since then. I like that. Excellent. Carry on.
And I think he's going to be with me till I'm old, because African Greys, they live till the age of 60.
60.
60 plus. So mom tells us, she said, you know what, you and him can look after the grandchildren together. And I think also it was because of him. I loved cats, dogs. I love them. I love animals. Every time I see a cat, a dog, I'm like, okay, I need to go pet them. And my sister's totally against them. She really doesn't like them. So it's, I think that was also one option. Another option was I really wanted to do law. I was very fascinated by criminal law, especially.
You've seen a lot of law on TV, isn't it?
Law and order, NCIS, all of that. I was very fascinated with that. Also,
and then you realize that practicing law in South Africa is not like what you see on TV.
Yes, it's completely opposite. And then I also like the idea of computers as well. I'm a very computer person. I did computers throughout primary school, and I specialized in computers in 10, 11, and 12. So because of that, I was also a very computery person. I knew a lot of things that my friends don't know how to do on computers. So I was also contemplating towards that. Even chef, I was contemplating going to a chef school.
Seem to be a jack of all trades, man.
Gee, alhamdulillah. I think my mom lets me make a disaster in the kitchen every once in a while. So I think that also helped. So it was also, chef school was also that. And then, you know what? I remember, I think I was about 12, 13 years old, and we had those career fairs in primary school, and they told us, okay, you know what, do a presentation on what you want to do. So I remember I did a whole presentation. I had a chef jacket, chef set. I was set on becoming a chef when I left school. And then afterwards, you know what, afterwards, when the holidays came, holidays left, I realized, okay, no, you know what, I don't like being a chef anymore. What do I do now? So I told my mother, I was like, okay, you know what do I do now? So she suggested that, she told me, she said, why don't you consider teaching? Now, for me, I was thinking, I like the idea of teaching, but then I met teachers who loved teaching. I met teachers who hated teaching, and I met teachers who were in between. So because of that, I didn't want to go into the career and then one day end up being the teacher that everybody hates. So that's why I was very skeptical about that. So she suggested that I consider teaching. And then last year, one of my dad's very good friends, he's a principal. So he told me, he said, okay, you know what, you want to do teaching? Why don't you come spend a couple of weeks in my school before you start university? See if you like it, at least apply somewhere else. So from the moment I stepped into the classroom, I spent time with the kids, and then in the process, actually, I think I felt bad for, but I think I considered my good luck that my teacher who I was assigned with for the 3 weeks, she actually felt sick for my final week. So they gave the classroom to me. They told me teach the lessons for the whole week. And you know what? The moment I taught the lessons, I realized that actually I like teaching. I loved it.
You
I
had
loved
a
it. I
passion
really,
for it,
really
yeah.
liked it. And you know what? I felt like it allowed me to make a very positive difference in the lives of my students. And you know what? I feel like teachers help students to reach their full potential, and it also showed me how important education is, and how literacy, with the high rate of illiteracy that we have, and how it affects people in the future. And now if you tell me, do you want to change, and I'm like, okay, no, I think alhamdulillah I found my place.
No, excellent. And then you've got this love for animals and that, which means that you've got that kindness in your heart, and then
Alhamdulillah.
you can develop that love for children, and
Gee,
and what you're doing.
gee,
And if
inshallah.
you've got that passion for teaching, coupled with the love for children, alhamdulillah, you can be successful.
Gee, you know what? I taught two batches of kids last year in two different schools. Actually, I did one public school, one government school, and I did one private school. And you know what? I realized that kids, whether they're in a public school or private school, even though the education at times is different, because the private school, allows more for creative expression and freedom. And I feel like the government schools are a lot more like, you know what, we're all following what the department says. But you know what? Kids just want to learn. Kids want to have fun. Kids, you know what? They want to love their teachers. So if you love the profession, if you love the kids, they'll love you. And you know what? It will work for you.
No, excellent, excellent. And I like what you say. Kids want to have fun. So if you make teaching fun, education fun, then they will learn.
I feel like putting kids in a class, even if they like, I'm teaching older kids now, I'm teaching grade 4 to grade 9 this year. So I feel like, you know what, even if you put them in the class the whole day, sitting in the class all day, it's not very uncomfortable for them. It's very uncomfortable for them. I feel like they're going to fall asleep. I feel like if I was put in that situation, I'd fall asleep. Take the kids out, put them on, if your school has the astroturf, put them on the astroturf, teach a lesson on the astroturf. If you can, if you're teaching a lesson on the aquarium for the week, go take them to the aquarium, because there's a lot of kids who are not just book learners, they're visual learners as well.
Yeah.
So if you show them the aquarium, then you say, okay, you know what, that's the blowfish you were learning about last week. They'll be able to learn about the blowfish. If you take them, for example, if you take them to the harbor and show them this is the ship, if you take them to the Natural Science Museum, I feel like kids will be able to learn a lot more better
Definitely.
and faster if you open up just not the classroom, but the whole world to them.
Absolutely. In fact, it's an excellent approach. I mean, you were thinking of your stories while you were out camping.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, you're hiking. My apologies.
Hiking,
While you're out hiking. Excellent. Now, Fatima, when Khadija told us she wants to pursue a career in education, now obviously you come from a different background. You come from more from a commercial background, if you put it that way. Yes. How did you feel?
I actually did not have a problem with it. I think it's actually a good idea. And I thought that because she actually loves to teach, she loves to show people how to do things all the time. So for her, that would be a bit of it would be a fit. I was a bit concerned, but Alhamdulillah, I think she has made a good choice. She seems very happy with where she is right now. But at the same time, I told her, and that's why I think we are this evening as well, that she needs to understand that as you grow, you need to create lots of your personality needs to grow as well. So
Absolutely.
you nurture a lot of your personality. You can nurture your personality career wise and socially as well. So try everything, do a little of everything, and you will find your fit. Alhamdulillah, she seems to have found her fit right now. But at the same time, don't confine it to that also. Allow yourself to grow within that as well. Because for today, also, teaching is not anymore just classroom based.
Yes.
It's online, it's the outside, there's amazing opportunities, and people are doing such fantastic things, even just sitting at home on a day-to-day basis and literally teaching over a computer for that matter. So, you know what, if that's what something that's going to make her happy, I think that's more important, that she needs to follow that. Follow your passion, understand, and first find your passion, because everybody is not going to be so easy. Find your passion, follow it, nurture it, grow it, and love it. That's all. What
No,
you can do.
alhamdulillah, you couldn't have put it any better. Just to remind our listeners that this is an interactive program. If you want to contribute to the topic, we are discussing growing together. We're discussing the importance between parents, of communication between parents and children. We're discussing, how parents can assist their children to, improve in life, how they should be open communication, etc. So if you want to contribute to this topic of discussion, do send us a WhatsApp on 060-904-1056. I repeat, 060-904-1056. We'd like to hear your views as well. Let's discuss some classroom experiences, Khadija, and some insights. What have been some of your most memorable experiences in the classroom?
I think for me, every day in the classroom is a learning experience. Every day is memorable experience. I feel like when I walk into the classroom and when I leave, I've learned so much. And I feel like, the kids don't only learn from us, we learn from the kids as well. Like sometimes I would know something and they, they wouldn't know, and I teach them and they're like, oh, okay, ma'am, I know it, I understand it, I've got it. And I think sometimes when they teach me things, even as little as 5-6 years old, they taught me a lot. And I was like, okay, I can learn a lot from you and you can learn a lot from me. But also for me, seeing the joy in my students' eyes, during those, when the concept finally clicks, I find it like incredibly warming. It fills me with so much serotonin. But it's not just only me, it's also for my classmates. In university, a very big thing for us is referencing, and a lot of students don't manage to get it until they like further on in their like third year, fourth year, towards the end of our degrees. And I feel like a lot of my classmates, when I teach them how to do referencing, and they pick it up and they're like, okay, you know what? It's very, very heartwarming. And whether we overcoming challenges together as a team, whether, the entire class doesn't understand something and we finally do it together, we finally learn it together, or we supporting individual growth. Because sometimes, I'm not going to say it's there's slow learners and there's fast learners and there's middle learners. I feel like there's no learner is ever too slow. Sometimes learners just take a little bit of extra time, and it's okay for you to call them a slow learner. It's very demeaning. I feel like it really sets the stage for how they'll be thinking for the rest of their life. Like 20 years from now, they'll come back and they'll say, you know what, my teacher when I was in grade 6 said I'm a slow learner. That's why I couldn't get the concept. But if you nurture it properly and you tell them, okay, you know what, let's spend a little bit of extra time together on a Thursday at your second break. If you are free, come see me or go see the teacher that you need to. Go learn it, go understand it. And you know what, learn it as many times as you need to. In 20 years' time, they won't say, you know what, the teacher said I was too slow. The teacher explained to me that, you know what, never mind, I don't understand it. Let me explain it to myself one more time. And usually the second time or third time it clicks. And you know what?
No, carry on.
Well, I feel like each moment strengthens my passion and commitment towards teaching, because when I feel like when the kids come and tell me, you know what, ma'am, thank you so much for today's lesson, I really enjoyed it. Or you know what, I finally learned something. I feel like my passion and commitment to teaching goes stronger. And you know what, I'm always looking for improvement. That's why whenever I teach lessons, I tell my kids as well, you know what, if you weren't happy with ma'am's lesson today, if you feel like, I could improve in some way, if you wanted a different video, if you want me to teach something else, teach it in a different way, then tell me, I'll try to build it on. Because I feel like confining them to the same types of lessons that we grew up with is only going to turn them into robots, and no two kids are the same.
Absolutely.
Well, as these daily experiences also remind me why I chose this path and how fulfilling it is to make a difference in my students' life. Because I want them to remember me as, you know what, the teacher that I loved, the teacher that I had fun with, the teacher that taught me why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Not that, oh my God, I'm so done with the teacher. Thank you, goodbye. Literally,
Yeah,
I don't want to
absolutely.
ever
When
be
will
that
she leave?
teacher. When won't you leave?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
When
I
won't
know
you
the
leave?
feeling. But the one thing you mentioned,
Mm.
and I found as well, the teachers should not discourage their children, their
Exactly.
pupils. Teachers should not also belittle their pupils,
Exactly.
because that's a scar for life.
Mm.
I mean, I know of certain students that I spoke to, and they literally hated teachers. They said that teacher told me that I'm useless. That teacher told me that I will never make it, and yet today I'm a professional, and the same teacher comes to me for advice.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think that's absolutely vital, and we need to take cognizance of that.
Mhm.
Now, Fatima, every time Khadija comes and tells you of experiences at school, success in the classroom, experiences, how do you feel? How do you take it?
No, it makes me actually very, very happy to understand that she now understands what her role is. She's carving out her own role in this world. And she needs to understand that she's taking on a huge responsibility,
Mhm.
because at the same time, if she wants to follow this path of education, it is not only, as she said, education in the classroom, but the kids would judge you on not only what you teach them, but the way you behaved while you were doing that as well. And sometimes it's not the message that the child would understand, but it was the way it was said.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of children, I believe, go ahead to take on, they go ahead to become teachers, or they go ahead to become certain professionals because of the role models that they adopted. So as a teacher, she would have to understand that she's not only going to be passing on education and not teaching children, but she will also have to teach them to be better people. And that's what matters more.
Absolutely. We'll take a short nasheed break. We'll continue after this,
No
inshallah.
problem.
أصير أحسن أصير أحسن
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM. Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
إيه أصير أحسن ولا يمنعني شيء، مدام راسي حي بسوي اللي علي. إيه أصير أحسن بما إني نويت وعزمت وخطيت بكمل ما بديت. إيه أصير أحسن ولا يمنعني شيء، مدام راسي حي بسوي اللي علي. إيه أصير أحسن بما إني نويت وعزمت وخطيت بكمل ما بديت. ماني خايف ولاني واقف، أنا ماشي وقلبي شايف. التحدي أدواه عندي حتى لو بصعب وأقسام واقف. لا 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 لا. We'd
love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al Ansar.
The views and opinions expressed by the presenters and guests of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
There's nothing quite like the taste of a traditional family meal, and at the heart of every great dish is a key ingredient that brings it all together. That ingredient is Sunfoil pure sunflower cooking oil, made from only the finest sunflower seeds. It's a perfect way to enhance the taste of your family's favorite foods. Sunfoil cooking oil is more than just oil. It's the key to bring your family together over a delicious meal and making every bite taste better. Remember, the key ingredient to a great family meal is sunfoil. Tradition just tastes better.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickville Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust. Advertising pays. Get your business on the map through advertising with Radio Al Ansar, the station with a proven record. Let's check with Simplex Radio to find out the advertising with Radio Al Ansar.
For us, it works very well. Our sales have increased and more people know about our store. I would definitely recommend advertising on Radio Al Ansar anytime.
There you have it. Join the airwaves and take it up to another level. Call us on 031 208 1601 and ask for Fatima Shahina or Faraz Bucks, our consultants. Let your name be heard by thousands of people. Radio Al Ansar, your partner in business.
Getting you through your day. Radio Al Ansar.
Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. He's the one who taught me life. He taught me everything that I know. I thank Allah for my Nabi. Everything that I do is from the book of Sunnah that I follow each and every day. See my bed, cause my prophet said so. I pray my sunnah, cause my prophet said so. Love the ummah, cause my prophet said so. Said so, said so. Thank you Allah for our prophet. His sunnahs are the only riches that we need. This is real success, profit with no interest. In Angela we rest. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine, I'll be mine. Was the greatest man that ever lived, yeah. You are the one who teach me how to live my life. You show me the path to reach paradise. What would I do without you? You are the only one that give me all that I need. Oh yeah.
You listen to Let's Chat on Radio Al Ansar, and we are discussing growing together. We have in our studio a mother and daughter combination of Khadija Hassim, an education student, and Fatima Hassim, a qualified life coach and entrepreneur, and of course a mum. And they're discussing education, communicating with children, etc. And yes, it's quite a fruitful discussion. Now, I think Khadija, how do you approach building relationships with your students and supporting their growth?
Okay, so first I'm going to say is that the most important thing is building trust and rapport with my students is deeply personal to me. I feel like, you know what, as little as they are or as big as they are, whatever I'm going to teach them, however I'm going to behave with them is how they're probably going to remember me, or how they're going to remember that particular year, that particular lesson, that particular classroom for the rest of their lives. And you know what? The important thing is it's also the cornerstone of my teaching philosophy. When I step into the classroom, I see not just a group of students. I don't see them as a block, as a square of students only, but individuals with unique strengths, challenges, and dreams. Like I can have one boy in my class. He can be brilliant at soccer, but but he can't learn maths. So you learn a way to incorporate soccer and maths together. That's the way he'll be able to pick up maths. Another girl in my class, she's brilliant at art, but she sucks at science. So you know what we can do? What we can do is you combine. Tell her, why don't you draw we're doing the mitochondria for the week. Why don't you draw the mitochondria and explain it to the class in the way you learn best? Maybe that's the way as well. Creating a supportive and inclusive learning environment isn't just a goal. It's a commitment born out of my belief in each student's potential. What I've actually also done is I think that sensory is also very important. We know there's a lot of different students with different sensory needs. Some of them, they can't hear a lot of noise. Too much of noise bothers them. Sometimes, like when the chalk is running on the board, it bothers them, stuff like that. Sometimes when they're trying to learn, they want to pay attention. And I can, their hands fidget a lot. And so what I feel like is also very important, like if you have a student in the class, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed, because a lot of students go to school completely undiagnosed. You keep things in there, you keep a pair of headphones, you keep fidget toys, something there. There's something to keep them in a way that they'll be able to learn, but it won't be too overwhelming for them. I've also seen firsthand how empowering students it is to take ownership of their learning journey, and how it ignites a passion for their knowledge, and it also installs a drive for excellence. For me, it's also about fostering a sense of belonging and a purpose. Every student feels valued and capable of teaching success. If you you know what, if you're going to stay, you're the captain, obviously you're the front of the class, you're the teacher, you're the captain, but you don't want every one of them to feel like third class passengers. You want them to also feel like the captain, but like the sub captain. Like, you know what, they must be able to say, ma'am, you know what, I don't like the way you taught today, can you please try a different way next week? You're not going to say, okay, you know what, my way or the highway. That's unfortunately how many people are taught, and many people hate teaching, hate teachers because of that. But if you take into your children, if you take into how they want to learn, then you'll be able to create a better learning for them as well. And you know what, it also makes them feel like they're taking ownership of their journey, that, you know what, I didn't learn because only ma'am taught me, I learned because I taught myself as well. I also feel like that's the most important thing. And you know what, if you're going to continuously yell, scream, shout at them when they have problems, they're not going to come and they're not going to tell you that, okay, you know what, ma'am, I've got a problem, so and so. They're going to say, okay, you know what, this ma'am is going to throw me out of her classroom if I do so and so. That's why building trust with them is important. As my mom raised me, is that how I hope to teach my class one day, inshallah.
Absolutely. And Fatima, how did you foster these qualities in Khadija during her upbringing?
That's the thing. I think it boils down to a lot of open communication. It boils down to a lot of understanding. Explaining to your 5-year-old child may seem like a total waste of time for you at that time, because there's a lot of other things that are on your mind. You have a lot of things to do. But just spending that little 5 minutes extra explaining to that child why they need to do what they need to do at that moment also will give them a certain sense of respect. It will give them a certain sense of understanding, and it creates that environment where you create mutual respect, where you have open communication, and when you start doing this, you now start creating supportive, strong relationships. And it makes me very happy to see that, you know what, maybe these very little things that I thought were necessary to instill in my children are now things that she will go ahead and instill in more children to come. And that, alhamdulillah, will be one of the best things that I think I could have passed on to her.
Alhamdulillah. Excellent. You know, I really enjoyed tonight's discussion because it was not just an academic discussion, but it was a very, very practical discussion. And so I think it's the first time I've had a mother and a daughter in the studio where, where you get both sides of the story.
That's
okay. And I thought that Khadija would be a bit scared to talk because her mother's sitting. I got to be cautious, but I saw that wasn't the case. So it's absolutely wonderful. I want to thank both Fatima and Khadija for having joined me in the studio this evening, and for the excellent discussion that you all had. We've had, alhamdulillah. And I say thank you for joining us, and I hope that we can have another program, a similar program in future as well. But before you leave us, I'm sure both of you have messages for us. So let's start with the mother first. I know Khadija is all excited, just ready to go. Okay, Khadija, you go for it while the mother's thinking. What's a message for our listeners?
Okay, first I want to say Jazakallah so much, Uncle Faisal, for having my mom and I both on the show. It's, you know what, for me, doing this with my mom was a lot of fun. A lot of people, I say a lot of Indian children, so to speak, a lot of Indian children, Asian children are very afraid of their parents because of how they were raised. But I think, shukr alhamdulillah, because of my upbringing, when I was given the opportunity to do this, I was like, okay, you know what, I want to do it with my mom. I want to do it with that because I was very, very excited. And I think, alhamdulillah, because of that, we had a lot of fun. We learned a lot tonight. I learned what it feels like to be a parent from her perspective, and I hope she learned what it feels like to be a teacher from my side. And inshallah, we can hopefully do this again. Maybe another topic, another show, and that's all I have to say. But
I can see you really want to become a radio presenter.
Inshallah, it's
No, inshallah, no problem.
It's I think, you know what, maybe that's actually on my list as well.
Yeah, keep in your list and we'll make it happen, inshallah.
You know what, we can't stick in today's day and age, as Mom mentioned earlier, we can't stick to one thing. We have to be a jack of all trades. We can't just Say, okay, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be the teacher for the rest of my life. You want to be a teacher. You want to be a teacher by day, a social media socialite by night. You want to be a radio jockey. There's so many things to do. So why must you just restrict yourself to one? Why must you spend your life and say, okay, I'm just going to be a teacher? No, have fun. You don't want to wake up one day and just, you know what, I don't know where the last 8 years of my life went. You want to say I went the last 8 years of my life, I loved it. You want
Excellent.
people to say that, you know what, she loved her life. She did a lot of things that people were afraid to do. And I think maybe I'm also like that because of my parents, alhamdulillah. They always encouraged me. They told me, you know what, don't be afraid, never be afraid. And if you're afraid, come to us, we'll do it with you.
Excellent. Farima, your message to our listeners.
Create strong, supportive relationships. Start creating relationships with your children from they're absolutely young. You may not remember, you may not have thought so, but they remember very small little things that matter. And start with the little things, because when it comes to the big things, then you will matter.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you once again for joining me in the studio. Thank you for all those who have tuned into Radio Al-Ansar, for having listened to the show this evening. Monali, thank you very much for having engineered for me as well. And Hajar Kota, thank you for having produced the show. I'm going to be back with you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, inshallah, on Rise and Shine. So till then, for myself, Faizal MJ Suleman, enjoy the rest of the evening, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وحسن الربيع وماء المطر